Gabe Castro, the host of Producers Circle. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking to producers whose works aim to inspire their listeners and viewers to make a difference in their communities. They gear towards informing and educating their communities on what is happening in them. So I want to welcome two great producers, Charles Clarke of WPPM's Labor Justice Radio and Josh Graupera of Bonfire Media Collective. So welcome. Thank you guys for joining me.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure being here.
It's an exciting, this is a new episode for 2021 of Producers Circle. I think this is very timely. I want to make sure that we're highlighting productions that are already out there right now who are creating impactful work, which is why I invited you all. So I'll introduce you to our listeners and viewers so they can get a little understanding of who we're working with. So I'll start here with Charles Clarke. Hello, Charles.
Hello.
He is a Philly Cam producer, former member of the Month, always helping our producers on their shows all over in many different ways, including here virtually on StreamYard. Charles is also the producer of the radio show Labor Justice Radio, which focuses on labor issues and concerns of working people, employed, underemployed, and unemployed, whether union or non-union, which is what we'll be focusing on for today's episode. I also have with me Josh Graupera of the Bonfire Media Collective. Josh is a Lancaster-born, Philadelphia-based artist, activist, and educator. Their practice explores the relationship between visual art and community organizing using painting, screen printing, and socially engaged processes. Josh is an arts and media organizer with Stadium Stompers, a worker, owner of Bonfire Media Collective, and an art and multimedia coordinator with the Youth Art and Self-Improvement Empowerment Project called YASP. Josh has worked as a teaching artist with various organizations, including here at Philly Cam. So again, welcome you both.
Thanks.
Yay. Awesome. I wanted to start by just kind of talking to you about the projects that you work on that are geared towards educating your viewers on, what's going on. So, Josh, could you tell us a bit about the Bonfire Media Collective and, what inspired you all to create this content?
Sure. So Bonfire Media Collective was actually incubated out of Media Mobilizing Project, which is now Movement Alliance Project. And they had been making movement media for many years, for about 10 years before we decided to form. So, if there was a campaign that needed to be uplifted, if there were actions that needed to be documented, if there were stories that were not being highlighted in other media outlets or media forums, Media Mobilizing Project was there to capture that. So Bonfire grew out of MMP with the idea of creating a group of media makers who would organize this business as a cooperative. So we're a worker-owned co-op, which means that we are both like the workers and the owners of Bonfire. And we really hold true and have expanded on MMP's vision on documenting media for various movements in the Philadelphia and tri-state region. So a lot of our videos are really to help support existing organizations and campaigns and cultural organizations to push further their goals or make more visible the programs and services that they offer.
There's definitely a need, especially now. Charles, could you tell us a bit about Labor Justice Radio?
Yeah, and this is going to be very interesting. Labor Justice Radio grew out of a project at Media Mobilizing Project.
That's great.
We did we did a class on radio production, and as a result of that, myself and 3 members of service employees in a national union, 32BJ, started the radio show Labor Justice Radio. We first aired on WPEB, which is a community radio station in West Philly. And our whole objective in the beginning was to tell the story of working people from the vantage point of working people. Some people dropped off. I remained. And I brought the show to Philly Cam's community radio station, WPPM. And it was a good fit. And the idea is still to tell the story of working people from the vantage point of workers, but in addition, expanded a little bit and started to talk about the problems and successes that working people have on the job, and started to talk to people from national kinds of perspectives to bring it back down into a local perspective in an attempt to show that the challenges that local workers face are the same challenges that other workers face in different parts of the country. So that's where we are in the evolution of Labor Justice Radio.
What a great evolution. We're very thankful to have it on WPPM. It's like we're very excited to have Bonfire Media Collective also on Philly Cam to educate our viewers and listeners. Could either one of you can pop in for this? But what are some ways that you find the content and information that you want to present to the people?
Well, mine is simply reading about 125 emails a day from different sources. There's the National Low Income Housing Coalition. Workers face problems in housing. There's the National Law Project. There's the Employment Law Project. There are a myriad of organizations that look at situations directly affecting and influencing what's happening in labor. And then there are those organizations that look at the effects of, say, peripheral situations like housing, like food security. Getting those two things together, I feel we're able to bring a broader but focused view of what it's like to be a worker, whether you're a low-wage worker or a middle-income worker. You have a lot in common. And once people begin to understand that workers form a class, the working class, so naturally we advocate for union organizing and union membership. But let me say this also. If unions are not, let's say, 100% behind workers, we call that out also. We highlight a potential problem or existing problem, and we say it is the responsibility of the union members, the rank and file, to take care of that problem within their union. So it's like anything else. If you're in a union, you have to participate. You participate by going to meetings, by keeping yourself aware, and by voting in union elections. It is no different than you being a citizen. You have to keep yourself aware of what's going on, and you have to participate in that system if you expect that system to be better. It doesn't get better on its own. It takes, in a union, it takes the rank and file, the membership. In a democracy, it takes the citizenship. The citizens are the rank and file. And after all, if you think about it, they talk about this country as being a union of states. What's different between that and a labor union? I say nothing.
So your show is equipping your listeners with the education and like the next steps, right? So that people are active and they know what they should be doing, and not picking sides, like not just being like, oh, this is right, this is wrong, but being more open to understanding that, we're all human. So there's going to be some give and take. There's going to be some weird things going on or things that need to be fixed. And the only way they're going to get fixed is if people know that there's a problem that they can do something about.
Exactly. It is not my position as the host of a show talking about labor to tell union members what to do. I see it as more giving them information about what is going on. But that's up to the membership of those unions to take that action and to explain that situation or give information on that situation. I always look for members of that particular union to come in and sit down and talk about what's going on. It's like I can give a voice to the rank and file. It is up to them to take advantage of that and to use that in a positive way.
Yeah, using this like platform.
Exactly.
Because you have the opportunity to use this platform. You have these tools and the access to it. So why not use that to educate people? And again, it's not to tell them which way or the other. It is for informing and educating them. And that's kind of the role of community media for sure, is to, tell those stories and educate people on things that maybe they wouldn't be getting from mainstream media. I did want to pop over to Josh to see how you collect information or how you decide what you're going to cover on Bonfire.
Yeah, it's that's kind of an interesting question because a lot of the times we're still in this phase. We're still a pretty young organization. We started this co-op process in 2016. We're not at a space right now where we're necessarily making our own media, though that's something that we're hoping to grow into in the future. But a lot of the videos that we do end up making are made with folks that reach out to us. And it's either based in relationships that we have as individuals or in an organization, or like when we first started, a lot of folks were coming to Media Mobilizing Project, now MAP, Movement Alliance Project, and saying hey, we need a video, and they're like, well, actually, we're going to pass you off to Bonfire because MAP had shifted its model away from generating movement media. That's how we got started. And then we were able to build relationships with organizations that then would hire us again, or for a series of videos. And from there, other organizations that were either here in Philadelphia, part of larger movement struggles of all kinds, would see our work and reach out to us, or vice versa. You know, there are groups that we value and really want to work with, and sometimes, you know, we're reaching out to folks to see if there's media that needs to be made. We're all deeply rooted in, you know, hyper local grassroots progressive causes that we really care about. So we don't take every gig that lands in our lap, or we don't take every project that folks reach out to, because we want to make sure that the videos that we make, the stories that we end up putting together, reflect the values within the co-op. You know, we just wrapped up I would call it a collaboration, I guess. I think of all of our projects as a collaboration in a sense, with Amistad Law Project, for their videos, for their video shorts. Everyday Philadelphians want to defund the police, and they approached us about that project, and we were really excited to take it on. And one thing that we're really intentional about when we're in our production phase, as well as post-production and editing, is that our client, you know, this time around, Amistad, is really hands-on and guiding the feedback and guiding the video in a way that you know, that when it's done, it's going to amplify the stories that were captured. It's going to amplify their members. It's going to work in service to the campaign work that they're doing. And that's just one example. We do that with every client, every organization, every person that we work with. You know, it's this interesting kind of tightrope walk of folks approaching us and us reaching out to different organizations that we feel in line in our own personal or collective values, right? In hopes that that we can center stories and narratives that otherwise wouldn't find their way in the world, or you know, take the stories and ideas and efforts that folks are doing on the ground and make it into a beautiful video, to really amplify the work that's already happening. So I personally think of it as a tool and an aid for a lot of groups to continue their work, to visualize their work for the public at large. Every project is very intentional. It's really considered. And we think about, you know, our ability to craft these stories and shape these stories in a way that is in service to the folks that are like, just honestly, like straight up willing to tell these stories, you know, individuals that are willing to share their stories with us, but also the organizations that are helping to advance, you know, a particular cause, whether it be like defunding the police or, you know, highlighting community engaged artwork that, you know, that folks are doing, right? A couple of our clients I've been really excited to work with in the past have been Power Street Theater, which is a really amazing theater company here in Philadelphia. We did a great video with Asian Arts Initiative and their Shared Spaces program. You know, I think if you looked at our videos, it becomes pretty clear, maybe some of the internal ideas and values of the co-op as a whole, reflected through on the ground work that other organizations are doing.
Yeah, it you know, I'm seeing a similarity in that, like, you have the tools, you have the, you know, the know-how to create this content, and then, you know, being selective of what information are we putting out there. And both of you have already, you know, kind of spoke about this, but what do you find is like really important to include or to be conscious of when you're creating this content? Like, what do you want people to know when they're either listening to your show, Charles, or watching or, you know, partaking in any of the content that you're creating, Josh?
Yeah, I would say like I think about this in terms of visual art for a lot of different things, but it's the entry point into other work, into other ideas. So if someone has seen our video about like our shared spaces that we did with Asian Arts Initiative, I would hope that they would then learn more about that organization as a whole and all of the other amazing programs that they do in Chinatown to support the community there. So I think it's really just a way to kind of bring people in to both blast out and make it more, make people's work more visual and more approachable, but also like it doesn't stop there, right? Like all of these groups that we've worked with, whether it be a group like Amistad or Movement Alliance Project, they're doing other campaign work, they're doing on the ground work or coalition work that runs deep into different communities, right? So I would hope that these videos are captivating enough to inspire people to really look deeper into the campaign, maybe get involved, all those kinds of things. Sometimes it's to support specific work or specific campaign targets that folks are going for. And then the other end of that I would say is that we're really careful in the ways in which we craft these stories, because especially when we're working with different movements, it takes a lot of, I personally believe it takes a lot of trust and honor to share a story about a difficult topic. It can be really sensitive. It can be traumatic. It's really like we spend a lot of time, especially in working with our clients, to make sure that these stories aren't extractive. They're not the same. They're not falling into the media trappings that we see in mainstream media, but that they uplift and amplify the stories that they want to see out there. So it's very much human centered in that sense, and I feel like that can be kind of strange to think about, but we live in a moment where there's so much media and it is very much extractive. So we try to really, like in our production process, really try to honor the individuals who we capture and work with our clients in a way that really serves to the work that they're doing.
Yeah, it's definitely the like people making this media for people, and it's an entryway to that content. Like it's not going to be the whole thing, but hopefully it's a teaser enough that people will want to do more. And I think having, next steps or, ways for people to continue past just ingesting this content to then contribute to it is kind of the heart of creating content for activism of any kind. It's like, okay, I informed you on it, and now I want you to go out and you do the thing that we need to be done. Charles, what do you feel is something that's important in your work that you want to make sure people leave with, or that for people who might be looking to create content to inspire others, what kind of advice do you give them?
Creating content can be a very exciting thing. And it also presents learning opportunities. You're giving a person or group of people the opportunity to tell their story from their perspective. And that, in general, educates the general audience on a situation, be it something that was a victory or something that is sort of oppressive, but getting the information out is an educational kind of endeavor. At the same time that you are educating the general public, there is a lot of self-education that is happening. If there is an issue that needs to be addressed, explaining what that issue is already informative, because a lot of times people don't see the issue. And that's just because they had not been informed of what is really happening. You know, Josh spoke about mainstream media. Mainstream media doesn't necessarily cover some of the critical situations that are happening. So it is up to shows like I do, things that Bonfire is doing, to educate and bring before the general public what is really happening in our society. And by doing that, hopefully, we are contributing to making society better, the lives of individuals better. That is the whole motivation for why I got involved in the first place. The opportunity to have access to a platform that could get information to the general populace.
So, if people are, thinking of creating content, and at the heart of it is just to inform, if they just have information that is necessary for people to hear, to get motivated, to make a difference, like if that's the first step and that's all you have, that's enough, right? It's enough to, utilize whatever platforms you have, whatever tools you have at your disposal, whether that's like your cell phone, right? You can film videos on your cell phone. You can join, local organizations like PhillyCam to create content, so that we can, get eyes and ears on these issues that matter, and hopefully inspire more people. It could just keep, snowball effect until we're all roped into it and we're all making a difference in our communities. Thank you both so much for this. I wanted to give you last thoughts, and then also where people can find your content so that they can catch up on what you're doing.
One thing I would like to add, though, before I do that, is that in the mainstream media, a lot of things are portrayed that are sort of on a negative. They give out a negative energy. And on the platform, like PhillyCam offers, you are able to show that positive side of life. And showing that positive side of life, giving that positive energy, gives people the strength to be involved in correcting some of the problems that exist. You can find Labor Justice Radio on WPVM FM LP at 106.5 FM. You can also follow on Facebook at Labor Justice Radio. If there is a story concerning labor and workers that you would like to share, you can send that to laborjustice106@gmail.com.
And how about you, Josh?
Yeah, so you can find Bonfire Media online. We have a website, www.bonfire.coop. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook, Bonfire Media Co.
Awesome. That's so great. Thank you both so much for joining me for this episode, and for kind of explaining how you do your work, and hopefully inspiring some new creators to, continue moving those messages and working alongside, maybe joining your teams in some way. So definitely thank you so much. This has been the Producer Circle talking about activism programming. So thank you so much.